and welcome back to the channel. Alright everyone, sit tight because today's topic is one of those how does this even happen stories. Lords of the Fallen, you know it, I know it, big Souls-like reboot, looking amazing in Unreal Engine 5, brutal bosses, dark fantasy vibes, the whole works. And here's the headline. This game hit 5.5 million players since it dropped back in 2023. That's a massive number for a non-From Software Souls-like, especially one that's basically a spiritual reboot of a cult classic from 2014. You'd think that means champagne showers and bonuses all around, right? Well, not quite. Despite the huge player base, the devs say the game still hasn't turned a profit. So how do you burn tens of millions of dollars, ship millions of copies, and still end up in the red? That's what we're unpacking today. We're talking about massive budgets, the true cost of Unreal Engine 5, the gamble of Game Pass style deals, deep discounts, and rocky launches, player psychology, and all of it. I want to pull back the curtain and show you exactly how modern game economics work behind the flashy trailers, because trust me, it's messier than you think. So grab a drink, get comfy, smash that like button now so you don't forget later, and let's dig into how Lords of the Fallen pulled in millions of players, but didn't pull in millions of dollars? First, let's rewind and set the stage. Lords of the Fallen isn't some brand new IP nobody knew about. Back in 2014, the original Lords of the Fallen tried to catch the Souls-like wave. It was clunky, kinda generic, but had heart, and it found a small cult following who appreciated its ambition. Fast forward nearly a decade, and CI Games decided, what if we did this again, but properly? They built Hexworks, a new studio under their umbrella, just to make this reboot. However, it was not all brand new developers, obviously, but a new team that was formed by CI Games after they fired the two previous dev teams to meet an absolutely insane release window. They didn't want to do another budget Souls-like, they wanted to swing big. Unreal Engine 5, two parallel worlds you can shift between in real time, massive grotesque bosses, and a full haunting dark fantasy vibe. The idea was to stand out from Software by adding their own flavor. The Umbral Realm, where death wasn't the end, but a second chance, with a cost. It's a clever mechanic, but mechanically ambitious means technically challenging. You're not just building one map, you're building two versions of every map, layered on top of each other. That doubles your asset work, doubles your QA needs, and doubles your headaches when you try to keep performance stable on both PC and consoles. And the thing is, they pulled it off visually. The trailers looked amazing, the marketing was strong, and the Souls-like community got hyped. But a pretty trailer doesn't pay the bills, so they needed sales to land. Now, let's talk about that price tag. Official numbers are under wraps, but multiple industry analysis peg Lords of the Fallen's total cost, devs plus marketing, at somewhere between 66 and 80 million USD. That's a big money for a Souls-like that isn't From Software or Capcom. So where does all that money go? First, Unreal Engine 5 is powerful, but not plug and play. All that next-gen fidelity means huge art teams building photoreal textures, complex lighting, and performance passes for multiple platforms. Then you have the dual world system, which doubles your asset production because Axiom and Umbral each have unique geometry, enemy variants, environmental effects. Next, there's the combat. Souls-like players are picky. If your dodge timing, parry windows, or hitboxes feel off, they riot on Reddit and refund instantly. So that means thousands of hours of playtesting, balance passes, QA sessions, and tuning enemy AI, and that's just the game itself. Now stack on marketing, fancy trailers, showcase slots, sponsored streams, influencer campaigns, convention booths. None of that is cheap, and every month your game slips. You burn more money on salaries for devs, artists, QA, marketing, and community managers. By the time launch day hits, you need to make back tens of millions just to break even. So Lords of the Fallen went big, but big budgets mean big risk. Okay, so they launch. And the numbers look good at first, millions of players in the first few months. If everyone paid full price, they'd be rolling in cash, right? But here's the reality. Modern game sales rarely work like that. Let's break it down. That first wave, maybe 1 to 1.5 million hardcore fans paid $60 to $70 at launch. Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, all those storefronts take about 30% cut off the top, then taxes, publisher overhead, and sometimes external investors take their slice too. So your $60 sale is really closer to $35 to $40 in net revenue. Now, refunds. Soulslike have a steep curve. Lots of people buy in on the hype, then rage quit when the first boss melts them. If they're on Steam, they refund if they're under 2 hours played. Easy loss. Then you have the post-launch players. These folks wait for discounts, Steam sales or bundles, so instead of $60, they might pay $30, $20, or even $10 if they catch a mega bundle. More players? Yes. More profit? Not necessarily. So while 5.5 million sounds massive on a press release, the profit margin is another story entirely. Let's talk discounts, because they're a blessing and a curse. Sales keep a game alive long after the hype window closes. Deep discounts mean people who wouldn't risk $70 might throw down $20. That boosts your player's base. More word of mouth, more Twitch streams, more YouTube videos. That's great for community building. But here's the catch. Every sale shrinks your pre-unit profit. If you're discounting too early, you're leaving money on the table from people who might have paid more if they trusted the game at launch. It's also an admission that full price didn't hook enough players. Bundles add another twist. They're good for exposure, you get your game in front of players who'd never bother otherwise, but you're splitting revenue with the bundle host. Humble, Steam, Epic, they all want their cut. Instead of a $60 sale, maybe you get $5 per player in the bundle deal. Multiply that by thousands, you still get a spike in player count, but you're barely chipping away at that giant dev cost. For Lords of the Fallen, it helped keep them in the headlines, but headlines don't pay rent if the math doesn't check out. Next piece of the puzzle, subscription services. Game Pass, PS Plus Extra, similar programs. They're the new normal for mid-tier studios. They guarantee upfront cash because the platform holder pays a licensing fee for a set window of availability. That's a lifesaver for studios staring down massive costs and uncertain sales. For players, it's perfect. You get to try a risky game for free. For devs, the upside is millions of eyes and a bigger community, but the payout usually doesn't match what you'd make selling the same copies at full price. So you're trading margin for reach. If the game's good enough, maybe some of those players buy DLC later. Maybe they buy a sequel. Maybe they stick around for cosmetics or expansions. But if your launch buzz fizzles, you don't get the follow-up spend. For Lords of the Fallen, the Game Pass effect added more players to that 5.5 million figure, but it didn't magically fix the bottom line. Here's the elephant in the room. The launch was bumpy at best. Trailers looked phenomenal, but real players hit real problems. Bugs, frame drops, stuttering performance, especially on PC. For Soulslike fans, performance is non-negotiable. If the frame rate tanks mid-boss fight, your experience goes out the window entirely. Reviews hit hard on this. Mixed Steam reviews scare away fence-sitters who might have paid full price. Refunds spike on Steam when people feel burned. It's a vicious cycle. Lower review scores mean fewer full-price sales, which means you rely more on sales and bundles, which means less profit per player. Meanwhile, devs have to patch and optimize on the fly. That costs even more, and they do deserve credit. They stuck with it, dropped hot fixes, pushed big updates, but first impressions are everything. In a genre this demanding, a rough launch can break you. Now, let's talk scope. This game wasn't just another Souls-like clone. It tried to innovate. The dual world mechanic, huge interconnected maps, massive boss encounters with multiple phases, ambitious as hell. But ambition costs money, and time. Every new feature doubles your QA needs. Every new mechanic risks more bugs. Meanwhile, the big boys, From Software, Capcom, have decades of experience and massive teams that know how to polish this stuff. For Hexworks, it was their first swing at this scale. That means learning the hard way. Add to that pressure from investors who want a return, plus a tight marketing window to hit before Elden Ring expansions or other big RPG drops steal the spotlight. Scope creep is real, and when you promise players a next-gen Souls-like, you have to deliver, or they'll hold it against you forever. Sometimes staying lean is better. In this case, they swung big and paid the price. So where do they go from here? Hexworks isn't shutting the doors, far from it. They're working on big patches, new expansions, balance changes, and QOL updates. They want this game to have a long tail. Maybe that extra content will convince new players to jump in at full price. Maybe word of mouth will swing around as performance stabilizes. DLC can help, especially if it lands well. It's not impossible for a Souls-like to pull a No Man's Sky. Rough launch, rocky start, and then redemption arc that brings players back. But it takes time, money, and trust. And while they patch and polish, they're surely thinking about a sequel. The question is, do they go even bigger? Or tighten the scope and learn from this budget squeeze? Only time will tell. One thing's for sure, the Souls-like community is loyal if you deliver. So here's the big takeaway for us, the fans, the devs, and the studios trying to make the next big Souls-like. First, big numbers look sexy in a press release, but revenue per player is what keeps studios alive. Second, AAA visuals and crazy new systems are awesome, but only if they work at launch. Third, deep discounts, bundles, and subscriptions aren't magic money trees. They're trade-offs. For studios, the lesson is clear. Know your audience, nail the performance, and maybe don't bet the farm on scope that doubles your workload. For fans, it's worth remembering that buying day one at full price does matter if you want more ambitious games. And when devs keep patching, don't write them off instantly. Give them a chance to fix what they messed up. Lords of the Fallen is an important case study. It shows how easy it is to fall into the AAA trap, even if your idea is great. And honestly, I'd rather see more risky, ambitious Souls-like, but maybe built smarter, not just bigger. And that's where we'll wrap it up today. If you've learned something new or just enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button. It really does help the channel keep growing. Drop a comment. Did you play Lords of the Fallen? Did you buy it day one or wait for a sale? Did the launch bugs turn you away or did you stick it out? I read every single one. I love hearing your takes. If you want more honest Souls-like deep dives, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. No hype, no sugarcoating, just real talk about the games we rage at and love anyway. And hey, if you want to see how this compares to other big Souls-like, check out my videos on Elden Ring, Wu Chain Fallen Fetters, and more. They're all on the channel. And if you haven't already, please head on over to Twitch at limerivt, where I play Souls-like games on the daily. Alright, Wanderer, I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong, dodge roll wisely, and keep that stamina bar green. Goodbye! Bye 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 bye!